Ni hao, and welcome to this introduction to understanding the Mandarin language. My name's Ri Zhidong, and I'm the founder of the Mandarin course at learnmandarin.com.au. So, in this video, you're going to learn about what is China, what's Chinese, what are Chinese characters, how does Chinese sound, and you're really going to get familiarized with the background on the Mandarin language. So, what is China? Well, for a long time, sinologists seem to agree that the name China comes from Qin, the dynasty led by the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, who was also the first to unite China back in 221 BC. Now, it's actually thought that the original pronunciation of Qin is quite different to what it is today, which makes this theory quite unlikely. Instead, China is thought to be sourced back to Persia, where the first porcelain and only later the country got its present day name. So Chinese people themselves called China 中国 or Middle Kingdom, which originally described the central or royal states that occupied the region prior to Qin's unification. Another name is Huaxia, the first dynasty in Chinese history. To the outside world, China is known as the People's Republic of China, or PRC. It's been established for a little over 60 years since the communist leader Mao Zedong on October the 1st, 1949. Before that, the country was known as the Republic of China from 1911 to 1946, and it was ruled by the Nationalist Party, who overthrew the last emperor of the Qing dynasty in 1911. Administratively, China is divided into 22 provinces, and it considers Taiwan as its 23rd province, although Taiwan is being independently governed. Besides that, there are 5 autonomous regions, 4 municipalities, Beijing, Shanghai, Tianjin, and Chongqing, and 2 special administrative zones, Hong Kong and Macau. The term mainland China is actually a geographic term used to refer to the 22 provinces and the 5 autonomous regions, as well as the 4 municipalities. China is a single party state, and its government is governed by the Communist Party, and the present leader is Xi Jinping. So, what is Chinese? Well, the first written Chinese language, Zhongwen, can be traced to around 2000 BC, when, for the purpose of fortune telling and divining, characters were actually written in oracle bones. Today, HànZú, or language of the Han, is also known as 中国话, or Chinese speech. In overseas Chinese communities, especially those of Southeast Asia, Chinese language is known as Huayu, while in Taiwan it's called the national language, or Guoyu. Now, China is extremely large and, of course, very populous, and for the people to be able to communicate all over the language with just the one language, a standard variant rather, of Chinese was established. So today, when we talk about Chinese, we're usually talking about the standard Chinese, which is called Mandarin or PǔTōngHuà, or common speech. Mandarin is the official language of China, and it's based on the pronunciation of Beijing and its surrounding areas. The name Mandarin actually comes from the Sankrist term mantrin, which means minister. Mandarin is spoken primarily by the ethnic group called Han or HànZú, which makes up around 92% of China's roughly 1.4 billion people. The other 8% of the population are represented by the remaining 55 minorities, which speak a variety of languages such as Tibetan, Mongolian, and Korean. Chinese is also spoken by Chinese people living abroad, which is estimated to be around 30 million people spread throughout the world. So, this makes Chinese, or Mandarin, the language with the most native language speakers around the world, which is also the reason why it's one of the 6 official languages at the United Nations. Mandarin is the native dialect of 71% of its people, and it's also spoken by educated speakers of other dialects. In Shanghai, for example, people speak the local language Shanghainese, but since schools are taught in Chinese, most of the population is bilingual, speaking both their local dialect and Mandarin. Apart from Mandarin, there are several important dialect groups, such as Wu, including Shanghainese, that's spoken in Jiangsu and Zhejiang province, Min, spoken in Fujian province, Taiwan and Southeast Asia, Yue, which is Cantonese and is spoken in Guangdong, Guangxi, Hong Kong, and Kejia, which is spoken in Guangdong and Jiangxi provinces. All of the dialects read and write the exact same characters and with the exact same meanings, but the pronunciation differs incredibly. All of them have tones that signal different pitches for each syllable. Now, in Chinese, as you may already know, is a tonal language. So each syllable or character has a tone, and in Mandarin, there are 4 tones plus the neutral tone. In the Pinyin romanization system, the mark above the syllable indicates its tones. Some of the words are unstressed or toneless, which means that they don't have a mark. Now, the first tone is continuous, it's high pitch. The second tone, it's rising. It starts at the middle pitch and it goes up to the high pitch. The third tone is low, circular. It starts at the mid-low pitch and then it falls and then it rises up to the mid-high pitch. The fourth tone is falling. It starts at the high pitch and it falls to the low pitch. So let's look at some examples. Ma means mother. Ma means hemp. Ma means horse. Ma means to scold. Ma is a question particle to indicate a question. Tang means soup. Tang means sugar. Tang means to lie down. Tang means hot or scorching. Da means to construct. Da means to answer. Da means to hit. And da means big. In Chinese, words are made up of 1 or more syllables, each of them represented by a character in the written form. Each character looks like a square-shaped box written in various strokes. The earliest character were actually pictographs, or simplified pictures of objects. Gradually, ideographs and symbols were used to express more complex and abstract ideas. Most of the characters now are made up of 2 parts, one of which carries the meaning and the other carries the pronunciation. Each character contains a radical, or the character itself can be the radical. There are 214 basic radicals. For basic literacy, one should recognize somewhere between 2,500 to 5,000 characters. Simplification is a process where complex characters were simplified to make writing easier by reducing the number of strokes and thus increasing the literacy rate. The simplified script has been used since the 1950s and 1960s and is used officially in China and Singapore, though not in Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. Several methods were used to simplify the characters. For example, one was to replace the original component of a character with the component of fewer strokes, but which had the same sound as the given character. So for example, here we see 认识, and we can see on the left-hand sides that it has a lot more strokes involved than on the right-hand side, which is the simplified version. On the bottom, we see 亲 and 亲. In this case, only the left component of the original character is used. Radicals also underwent simplifications as well. So, how does Chinese sound? Chinese characters carry the meaning, but not necessarily the sound, so the pronunciation of the character. Now, this of course does have its advantages. It means that speakers of different languages like Japanese, Chinese, Korean can still use the very same characters and pronounce it in their own language. For learners, though, this does represent a bit of a difficulty, as they have to remember and internalize the correct pronunciation of each character. So to speed up the process of doing that, alphabetic systems have actually been invented to represent the sound or the syllables behind each Chinese character. Most of these systems are made up of Roman letters, which is why they're called Romanizations. We'll talk about three of the most influential ones, which are Pinyin, PǔTōngHuà, and Wade's-Gili system. So Pinyin, or officially the scheme for the Chinese phonetic alphabet, has been used officially in China since 1958, and it's now the most widely used romanization system in classroom, in textbooks, in computer input systems, and in dictionaries around the world. In the Pinyin system, each syllable is composed of the initial consonant sound and final vowel sound. Altogether, there are 23 initial sounds followed by 36 different final sounds. So these final sounds are either just vowels or a combination of vowels and consonants. The syllables also come with the tone mark, as we've mentioned before, one of the 4 accented tones or the 5th neutral tone. Throughout this video, we've been using Pinyin alongside the characters. 注音符号, literally transcription of sounds, is also called the populous after its first 4 letters, which is B, P, M, and F. So instead of basing it on the character, this system was inspired by the Japanese kana, which uses symbols or simplifications of simplified characters instead. The advantage of this system is that it's based only on Chinese and it doesn't suggest any particular English or other language sound values. This system is still used in Taiwan, where children and foreign students learn to read with populous written vertically alongside the character to indicate its pronunciation. The next system is the Wade's-Gili system. As the name suggests, this was an invention made by 2 Cambridge scholars, Thomas Wade and Herbert A. Gillies, at the turn of the 19th century. For many years, this system was the most commonly used romanization in English language publications in China. Its main characteristic is that it distinguishes the plain initial consonant from the aspirated g from k, d from t, j from ch, etc. in the Pinyin system by placing an apostrophe after the latter. So quo versus quo, for example, as we can see here. So I hope you now have a basic understanding of the Mandarin language, its background, the characters, and its pronunciation. If you'd like to learn more about the Mandarin language, you can go to learnmandarin.com.au and sign up for more.